seemed very weird because I guess it's like this one was not Michael C. Hall. It was
Right, this is his younger version, right?
right, but Michael C. Hall was doing the voiceover, which is
Mm-hmm.
for the whole series that you've never seen.
Right.
But I guess they're doing another one where Mike it's back to like the original series, I guess. And Peter Dinklage is going to be like the bad guy in it or something. But I kind of feel like they did such a good job with this kind of reboot thing or prequel, whatever it is, prequel. They should have just stuck with that.
If you say so. I mean, I don't have any pony in that race, so I don't really care one way or the other. So, Mark, what have you seen? What have you in the week we haven't talked? What have you watched? What have you seen? What are you?
So again, I'll talk about Dexter. So it was a 10 episode prequel. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was better than most of the other seasons of the original. I think they did a really good job about tying a lot of stuff into the Dexter original series. I thought the actors were great. They did a really good job. I thought it was fun. And I really enjoyed it.
I mean, that's fair.
Yep.
Mark, I watched a movie that I hadn't seen in quite some time yesterday. Do you want to take a guess as to what it was?
The Entity?
No.
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1.
No.
The Footloose.
That's not a movie.
Footloose isn't a movie?
Oh, I thought you said Fruit Loops.
No, that's you.
No, I watched Amityville 4, The Evil Escapes, starring the one and only Patty Duke.
The Evil Escapes. Is that the one where there's like a pit?
No, this is the one with the lamp.
Okay.
Yeah, so
you know the funny. So I'll let you speak, but you know it's funny. Like a lot of those kind of like, I think Part 2's the best in that series. But some of the sequels after, I mean, the recent sequels, not like Amityville in Space or whatever, because people just took that. They're actually kind of okay or kind of fun to watch. Because
I would not say any of the Amityvilles are fun.
So the one I watched recently, Amityville. It's About Time, maybe. Yeah, It's About Time. That was fun. I did.
Okay, that's fair. I don't have anything against them specifically, but they're just not exciting to me.
Yeah. No.
I'm not excited about watching Amityville films. I have to disagree with you about 2 being the best. I thought 3 was better. The Amityville 3D. Mostly because I loved Lori Loughlin as an actress. So at the time, and that was
so great. The third one, that was on with the pit at the bottom, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that one's fun.
The father goes into the pit.
Yeah, that one's fun too. I just think Part 2 is kind of nasty. It's got that whole weird incest thing, and then they do the weird like, oh, we have to be like the Exorcist at the end. But somehow it all ties together for me better than any of the other ones.
I mean, that's not an unfair assumption. I mean, in general, it's not terrible. I've seen many, many worse sequels. But, Mark, I just watched a movie on Tubi called Tahoe Joe.
Okay.
It is not in my wheelhouse generally because it's more of a found footage type movie. The director wanted to make a movie for $50.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Milan from South Africa. We are just talking about horror movies, anything in general. But anyway, so believe it or not, Mark, the director / writer is coming on our podcast in March. So there's 2 Tahoe Joes, and he's got a full-length feature called The Summer We Died. Also, I think on Tubi, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, that one's on Amazon Prime. Bruce, I do not watch football.
No. Shut your fucking hole there, Jim. I watch football. You don't.
Well, that's what I just said. I don't watch football.
Oh,
Mark, I was going to ask
okay.
your opinion, Mark. Wow, what
Yeah.
a dick.
Well, thank you very much. That's what she said.
Not to you, though.
I don't support either of those teams, but I'm glad the Eagles beat
You don't support them, but why are you happy the Eagles won?
because I don't really like the Chiefs. And my brother-in-law, your favorite, Shane, he's a big Chiefs
I don't have a
fan.
problem with your brother-in-law.
No, I know, but he's a big Chiefs fan, so it's funny
Is he?
whenever you don't have a dog in the race, but it's funny to laugh at somebody else's dogs if they lose.
I mean, if you say so. So for anybody that's watching, we had a guest booked for tonight to talk about his new horror film, but he was not able to make it. So we're essentially just chatting about everything. Mark and I are catching up because we haven't talked to each other in about a week. So we're just getting caught up on the bullshit. Nothing specific. So
Yep,
ask any questions you want.
Yeah, ask us whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know shit about sports. Horror movies, I can talk about. Sports, I'm just not my bag. Anyway, Mark. So, what were you talking about?
You were talking about the found footage.
Oh, right. So Tahoe Joe, it's through most of the movie, you think it's like a Bigfoot movie, like they're looking for Bigfoot, but it's not really. But that's all I'm going to say. So check it out. Because the gentleman is going to be coming on. He is a U.S. vet, and he is a full-time dad. So, like,
oh, that's good. I like animals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. No. Oh, Mark, shut up. You are such an idiot. You almost got me. I had to think about like animals. What are you talking about?
Well, you agreed with me, Saskia.
I like animals. I don't have anything against them. Anyway, Mark, so what else have you watched lately?
All right. So we'll go with most recent watch. Not horror. I really wasn't kind of that interested.
Brutal Impact has a question for you, Mark. What is the worst movie you've ever seen? Brutal Impact has to go with Open Water.
So I think Open Water is a great movie because we've talked about this before, because that's one of my fears.
Okay, right.
But I can understand why people wouldn't like it, because kind of like a lot of the found footage stuff, it's basically an hour and a half of just people being annoyed with each other.
Yep.
But it worked for me. The worst movie I've ever seen? Like, oh my god! I mean,
I already know mine.
Just go ahead.
Yeah. Mine is, aside from anything starring Jennifer Carpenter, it would be Only Lovers Left Alive. That movie is so fucking boring and pretentious. I hate it with every fiber of my being.
Yeah, I mean, and there's just different levels of not liking a movie, right? There's movies which really disappointed you, right? And you went in there super stoked to watch it, and you just fucking hated it. But then there's the ones that are maybe a little bit more objectively bad, because they're maybe just poorly made and poorly written and poorly acted.
But see, I can enjoy an objectively bad film generally because I laugh at the fact that it got made. Like Troll 2, which is now a cult classic. That movie is inarguably terrible, but it's so good that they took it so seriously because it makes it a gem.
Which one?
Troll 2.
No, Troll 2 is awesome. So I'll say.
Are you not listening to me, Mark?
No,
you did not hear what I just said.
I don't listen to you.
I know, clearly.
No. But the worst thing you can be is boring, right?
Yes.
Or kind of like unwatchably bad. I think you can be totally bad but totally entertaining. Let me see what I've rated like 0 out of 10 on my list.
I can't believe it's taking you this long to find a movie you really hated.
Skinamarink, couldn't finish it.
7.5 minutes I got through that. But I do have to say that I have spoken to both the lady who plays the mom and the gentleman who plays the dad, two of the best people you'd ever want to meet. But the movie was just not for me.
Halloween Ends. fucking
Yeah, that's
hated,
objectively bad.
fucking hated that shit.
Yeah, that was awful. And
In
if
the
you guys are
same,
interested, hang on. If you guys are interested, you can hear on this channel. There's an episode where we just live reacted to the film. It's just terrible.
Nightmare Weekend, Dream Maniac. I mean, there's like, I'm glad I kind of like have an app where I can put these in, because in my head I like just try to forget about these. Cage Dive was awful. The Pyramid was awful. The Exorcist
Mark.
Believer. Hello. Hi.
Back up.
Go. She's getting a new sink today. She's so excited.
Go.
Wow, let that sink in.
Ha ha ha. You're so funny, Mark.
Yeah. So there's to me it's like I don't have any expectations, but it just is boring or really like just not interesting. Or I went in with hope, and it just turned out to be fucking awful.
We can say that about Barbarian, right? Because you and I have
no. Well, you can.
I can, because when in the first half of the movie, it's fantastic. The tension is great. The acting is fantastic. The chemistry between the characters. Then it takes that hard right turn, and I hated it. Brutal Impact wants to know what you think of the Chucky series.
Yes, I can read that too, Jim. Thank you.
Oh, can you? I didn't know you had the chat window open.
Anyway,
so Barbarian.
Well, hang on. So
Sure.
Barbarian, I think,
yes,
is really good. It just the two sides didn't sit well together. But separate them out and put them in an anthology with another story. Awesome.
Yes, it could be good. Brutal Impact. I love the Chucky series. I did not watch the last season though, because I sort of fell off, but not because I don't want to watch it. Just I have not had time to sit down and watch it yet.
I have not seen it.
Why?
Because it's a TV series. So.
Well, that's true. You don't generally watch TV shows.
You really should, though. I mean, my recent bout of ADHD that's been for the last 4 years. To start something like a long series,
then it'd be out in the garage. Sorry, say that again.
That's okay. Now, with my recent bout of ADHD, the thought of starting a series that's already got a number of seasons just.
Yeah, but it has a finite number of seasons. It's already ended.
No, I know.
So I mean, you could binge it when you're feeling.
I should watch it because, like, I really like the last movies that were made by Mancini, right? The Cult and Curse.
Yep.
And this is more of it, and Fiona Dourif's in it, and I should watch them, but.
Cult and Seed of Chucky are great, and the series picks up where those movies ended, so you don't miss anything.
So, what do you think about the remake?
I think it could have been a great movie if they didn't try and force child's play into it. Like if they had just made it a movie about AI, an AI doll.
You mean Megan?
Kind of, yeah. It would have been good because I love Aubrey Plaza. I liked Mark Hamill playing an evil doll/robot, but I could not get into it being forced in as a reboot.
Walking Dead. So here's the thing though, my ADHD only started kicking in a couple of years ago. So I watched like all of the Walking Dead seasons up until like it just got so bad, like maybe it was like 6 or 7. And I stopped watching it, and then randomly I watched like the very last season, which was a lot better. So, yeah,
I fell off The Walking Dead in season 3, and then I loved the hell out of Fear the Walking Dead. It was what I wanted The Walking Dead to be instead of all the drama.
So what happened with The Walking Dead is the same thing that happened with Game of Thrones.
Right?
Is
they ran
that
out of source material?
Well, not really. What happened is they started putting so much plot armor on the characters that you knew, oh, these people are getting in this like difficult spot. Nobody could get out of it, and okay, they get out of it just because they're popular characters.
Yeah,
like fuck off. I mean, the whole thing is it's supposed to be like a brutal, realistic world where anybody can die, right? Because it's so brutal.
Yeah.
But once you start putting plot armor around people, it's like there's no risk involved.
And that's the whole downfall of any show or movie, right? If there's no real risk involved, who the fuck wants to watch it?
Well, yes and no. I mean,
You don't watch a show
well,
knowing your favorite characters are going to survive, right? At least
well,
I don't. I don't necessarily always
mm,
want that to be the case. So, and I'll give you a point and a perfect example, right? The movie Promising Young Woman. That's all I'm going to say. You have to watch it, but it subverts all of your expectations.
and so I've got two thoughts around that, right? So I think if you have a series that sets up in the first couple of seasons that nobody's safe, once they abandon it, then you have problems. Like,
Yes.
obviously, you watch something like The X Files. You know Mulder and Scully are not going to get killed, right?
No, the
You
romance
are,
was the biggest gotcha on
no,
that
no,
one.
but what I'm saying is there's not that risk, right, of them
Right.
being killed. So you're fine with it. It's Monster of the Week or whatever. I also think it's weird, and I don't know why this is so like 99% of books, or, well, not books, but movies and series or whatever, where everyone was like, "Oh, Game of Thrones is so revolutionary because they kill off these characters sporadically." I'm like, well, yeah, like shouldn't most media do that because that's more realistic? I never got the whole you. I do understand to a certain degree, but especially in a horror or there should be some sort of stakes as far
Yeah,
as.
exactly. And
So,
that's the part that really annoys the crap out of me. Like I read this book, right, where this guy goes on this horrific rampage, right, where he's just offing people left and right. And then the end of the book is, oh, none of that happened. I'm just crazy. Like it was all
ah,
my imagination. I
ah, the
hate that.
so like the American Psycho type thing, or it
Yeah,
was all a dream. It
right.
was
I
all a
can't
dream.
stand that.
Which
But is
I
that worse than what they did with The Sopranos, where they just cut it off?
don't
They
never
just
watched
fade
it.
to black and that's it. 10
Uh,
seasons and the ending is a fade to black.
so I mean, I never watched The Sopranos, so I I can't really like comment on if that's a good or a bad ending. But
Yep.
sometimes I can kind of see where they're going with that. Like the end of the season or the end of the series isn't the actual end of the characters, right? Because they're
Right.
trying to set the. So this is just where we stop reporting on
Right. And that's
them.
fair.
But
Brutal.
everybody, a lot of people like a happy ending or a good resolution, um, or some sort of wrap up where it
Yeah.
makes sense. And so,
Right.
I kind of think that was an interesting choice, just to be like, nope.
It is interesting. But Brutal Impact, I loved Sliders when it aired. I was all over that show.
I
Even when they
watched like
even
some of the first season.
even when they brought in Jerry O'Connell's brother and Kari Wurr, I expected it to really take a dive, but it never really did. It was still good.
Carrie Wurr is a great actress. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but when you change the focal point of a series in the fourth or fifth season,
Oh, you mean about
it
a character?
generally, yeah, it just inherently it's not as good. But
I,
it,
I
it was it was a solid show all the way through. I
was
felt
that
the same
what
about Farscape though.
was Sliders John Reese?
Yes, he was on the first 3 seasons, I believe.
Okay. Yeah,
John Reese. No, yeah,
yeah.
John Reese Davies. Yes, yeah, he was the professor that got them lost, essentially.
Indeed. Yeah, it was,
Yeah. I
yeah.
just watched that the other night. I just watched Indiana Jones 2 nights ago. I don't know why. And then I had to piss off our buddy James Kane and say that Dial of Destiny was the best movie ever in the Indiana Jones franchise. I've never even seen it. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's not good.
I didn't imagine it would be, so I never watched it. So, Mark, what was your favorite TV show back in the day?
Like horror
No, just
or
in
just
general.
okay. So Jim, I love Bottom.
I'm not surprised.
I'm just saying. Big fan of Bottom.
Okay.
Obviously in the UK, so I grew up with like a lot of like the young ones. Like if we're just talking about like comedy, loved that. Loved One Foot in the Grave. As far as like actual series, loved the X Files. Although I
Yeah.
gave up on it. Again, it just went so long.
Yeah.
Um, that's a good question. I have to think about like whenever I was younger, like series that I loved. Oh, Babylon 5.
I never watched it.
Absolutely loved certainly the first number of seasons of that. It was like a must watch. You know, Star Trek Next Generation. Loved it. Deep Space Nine's great too. I don't know. Jim?
I was a huge fan of the X-Files, and then I was a big fan of the Holy Trinity, Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt, and Monsters. My Sunday nights, that was my mom and our quality time was watching those three shows.
So speaking about, you were talking about Indiana Jones.
Yes.
So I just watched Captain America: Brave New World
How do those two things relate?
because Harrison Ford's in it.
I wouldn't know. I don't watch. I've not seen anything past the first Captain America movie.
So you haven't seen an advert on TV or anything?
No, I have not actually.
It's just like Long Legs. Have you heard about Long Legs?
What?
It's a movie called Long Legs.
Long what?
Long Legs.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, it's Oz Perkins.
I actually meant to watch it today, but I didn't get a chance to.
So I went into what. There's a lot to say about like comic book movies in general, and this
Yes.
I believe is like the 35th MCU movie.
Yes.
And I kind of feel, and I've said this before, that growing up in the 80s, we're now we're kind of spoiled with all these amazing, huge, big budget.
Hi, Peachy. Peachy's watching us on YouTube.
Yes, so I've always said, growing up in the 80s, we've been kind of like so overwhelmed with the number of these huge budget movies that we would never think of as like comic book fans back in the day. But at a certain point, I have to think that you can't just always base everything off we've been spoiled, so we should treat them with more reverence, or we're lucky to have them. And the MCU recently hasn't really been doing a good job. After
this is my shocked face.
Well, after Endgame, because those like Infinity War and Endgame were so great that there's going to be a downfall after it.
I'm sorry, I just read the chat. I couldn't help myself.
Focus. Eyes up here. Eyes up here.
But
so
okay,
anyway,
so you already know that I am not a superhero fan. My favorite comic book movie is going to be very unpopular in general.
Howard the Duck. Yes, we know.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. The Hulk with Jennifer Connelly and Eric Bana.
So that's interesting, right? Because Brave New World.
Yep.
We have a Hulk in it.
Okay.
Not the Hulk, a Hulk.
Is it the Red Hulk?
It is the Red Hulk. Which they should not have put in their marketing. Anyway, so I wasn't super excited about this one. My son wanted to see it, so I went with him. Like, yeah, we'll go watch it in the movie theater. And is that in your background, Jim? There's somebody talking.
Yes.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. So I went into it and I was like, man, the trailers were kind of meh. I wasn't very excited about. I ended up liking it quite a bit. There was apparently a lot of reshoots, and I think there's like 5 writers on there. But what they do is they have this political thriller, which is actually pretty good. But there's also some sequences where there's just literal exposition being given. Hey, I'm the bad guy, and I'm doing it for this, like the whole James Bond villain, or it's tell don't show, which kind of took it down a bit for me, and it's all kind of leading up to the Red Hulk kind of at the end,
Right.
and I'm pretty sure that as they were writing it, that was going to be kind of the twist at the end or the big reveal, which would have worked much better if you didn't know the Red Hulk was in it from trailers.
I mean, that's fair. Mark, have you seen Mallet 2? I've seen Hatchet 2. I've never heard of Mallet.
Mallet 2?
Yeah.
No, I have to look this up. Mallet 2.
Correct. And
Not
Peachy
Mullet
loves rope,
2.
apparently.
Mallet 2. The Nightmare Continues.
I feel like this is a setup for something like Dude Bro Party Massacre 3.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
So Brutal Impact, tell us what did you think of Mallet 2?
Was it better than the first? Are you excited about part 3?
Oh, his Brutal's friend made it.
Okay, well, I mean
Interesting.
that should not influence your opinion of it, or else you have no
it doesn't.
integrity.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But still, that's pretty cool, though. I mean, that his friend made the film, or his or her friend. Oh, so Peachy says that she loved the comics, but she hasn't seen Brave New World yet. I am going to have to look that up, Brutal, and I will on our next live next weekend. I will let you know my opinion. Oh, Brutal Impact was supposed to be in it. That's a shame if that didn't work out for you. That sounds like it probably would be a lot of fun to work on it on a.
I'm still waiting for Jim to be in that found footage movie where he's brutally murdered, and it's also a documentary.
I mean, okay. Anyway, Mark. So I also went on a Blu-ray buying spree this weekend.
As you're looking, Wendy, yeah, it's worth checking out. Brave New World. To me, it was like a 7.5 out of 10, which is more than I thought I'd give it.
Brutal. Just so you're aware, we generally go live around 7 p.m. Eastern on Sundays with our guests, but I will keep that in mind. So, Mark, I got a delivery from Shout Factory this week, and it is Bad Dreams and there's Visiting Hours, which I've never seen Visiting Hours, but you already know Bad Dreams is one of my favorite films from the 80s. It's the best Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff ever.
Visiting Hours, Michael Ironside?
Yes.
Slasher in the hospital.
I'm here for it. I love a good slasher. You know that. I love a good slasher. But I also got the Terminator, the original, with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Never heard of it.
Michael Biehn. No? I got that on Blu-ray. I got The Conjuring, Total Recall, and I think that's it on Blu-ray.
I don't remember what Total Recall is about.
You just don't recall?
Oh, perhaps.
But
get your ass to Mars!
I love that cheesy goddamn movie, and I don't care what anybody says.
Like, it's cheesy, but it's not. It's low key, and again, it's based on, is it Philip K. Dick?
Yes, I believe so.
It really is so well made that at the end, whenever Cohagen is, and they're all like, "Hey, this is like what you wanted in Recall.
Yeah,
you wanted to be like this super spy guy and have this brunette and save Mars." but it so seamlessly kind of brings you along with that.
Yeah,
That really you are like, well, maybe he is still in recall.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree, Brutal Impact. I love the film, and I cannot wait to put it on tonight. But Sharon Stone plays his wife, right?
Yep.
Or
Mhm.
his wife.
Yep.
She is the only, in my opinion, Sharon Stone is the only glossy thing about the movie. The rest of it is total trash. Like, but I love every minute of it. Like, I think it is such. I
No.
think it's a,
Clarify total trash.
no.
Because actually,
I mean trash in a good way, like enjoyable, schlocky, not to be taken too seriously.
I mean, if you look at
I don't mean like a bad film.
well, if you look at like Verhoeven, right? RoboCop, Total
Right.
Recall, the fuck, what do you call it? The Space Marine one.
Are you talking about oh my god, Super Starship Troopers?
Starship Troopers. They're all they all have that subversive kind of messaging underneath it,
Yes. Yes.
and I mean, I less cheesy. Like it's not what I would call cheesy. I would call them just fun, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
and I think watching them as they came out at that time. I think looking back, because some of the effects and whatever are a little cheesy, and maybe some of the dialogue, but at that time,
But
I
they
think
were a
just
blast to
really,
watch.
yeah, I think just really fit in with the
I agree.
oh, uber violence
Yeah.
of the 80s, the Rambos and the Commandos, and all
Yep.
this sort of stuff. Yeah.
Uncle Ed, I am really on board. Cute, Peachy, cute. Uncle Ed, I was on board with Hostel until that forced gay scene. Like the scene where they took the
For
two
fuck's sake,
girls.
take yourself out of it for
No,
one.
because it has nothing to do with that.
Oh,
It serves no
sure.
purpose. It serves no purpose. Like there's one scene where they're both making out with girls, and the one guy can't take his eyes off of his buddy, which okay, nobody cares, but why focus on that and then not do anything with it?
See, you're the same sort of person. Be like, why don't they ever show people, kind of, being gay in movies? Because we need people to understand that
That
we're gay.
is
Like you don't have to follow through with something, and it's got nothing to do with like it's just such a short part in the movie. It's weird to be like, oh, this is why I don't like this movie.
well, yeah,
Weird,
because it's just thrown in there
weird.
for no purpose. And you know
So
me, Mark. The representation I like to see of myself in a film is switch me out for anybody else, and it doesn't affect the story. If you cut that scene, it would have made no difference to the story whatsoever.
there's a lot
Why was it there?
because it's DEI. There you go.
Jesus Christ. I
No,
hate you right
but
now.
I don't
I
understand
hate
why.
you so hard right now.
No, I don't understand why it's like something that you're so like. Oh, I hated that. If it's
I didn't say
inconsequential,
ruin the movie. I just hate it. I
well,
hate that
you
it's there.
kind of did. You kind of did. You said you liked it until that point.
Yeah.
So did
I
you
still
not?
watch the
Did you,
sequels.
hang on. So
I didn't give up on the entire franchise for 3 seconds in a film.
So you're watching Hostel up to that point, and you're like, "Oh, I like this movie."
Yes.
That inconsequential scene comes up, and then you're like, "Oh, I don't like this movie anymore."
I just figure the rest of it's just kind of stupid. And I'm like, whatever. But the other movies that did not put that as anything as a focal point in regards to that, I was fine with.
Oh, hang on.
Uncle Ed, I don't know what Snakes in the Eagle's Shadow means. And Wendy, Peachy, I cannot confirm or deny if I have not imbibed a bit tonight.
I'm not a big Roth fan. I did like Hostel. In fact, I kind of like all the Hostel movies to one extent or the other. Even the third one, which was nothing to, wasn't Roth, but it was a Vegas thing. I think I was just kind of watching it in the background because it was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
don't remember anything about
it was okay. Like, I'd need to watch it again. Maybe I'd hate it, but I thought it was okay. So, but like Roth overall is one of these kind of like Rob Zombie. who generally got like
Look, be
they're
careful
hard.
what you.
I know they are actual big horror nerds like us. They have some talent. They made some good movies, but then they've made some absolutely awful movies too. So
I
it's
mean, every
just like
filmmaker has
disappointing.
good movies and bad movies. So that's
No,
not
no,
really
no.
a make. Wait, give me a minute. That's not really a make or break, right? But here's the problem with Eli Roth. He made a few good films, and they made him into like the godfather of horror for whatever reason. Then you have Rob Zombie, who can't stop putting his wife in front of the camera, and she is god awful, right? She serves. She's not a good actress. She does nothing to drive narratives or stories. She's just a waste of space in a film, right? She may be a beautiful person, but I just can't with her on screen, right? She may be a great person
So
in
you
life.
just said that a director. All directors make good and bad movies. It's not a
Yes.
make or break thing. And then you just mentioned some things which are a make or break thing.
For me personally, not in general, he's had a great career. People love his Halloween films, and I can't stand them.
Anyway, so like the Soska sisters as well. Unfortunately, these are like people that I would really love to love most of their movies,
Yeah.
and all of them have made at least one or two movies that I really like, and but unfortunately, the rest of them are disappointing. I think that's we're talking about like bad movies and disappointment. I think it's probably more about hey, there's potential there. They're horror nerds like us, but I just let down by them. I think they're either lazy or just. I think some of them do get a little. Hey, we are so kind of popular in the horror scene that people watch anything that we make now. Laziness. I don't know. And I can't hear you, and that's a great improvement.
Can you hear me now?
Unfortunately, yes.
I was saying that I was on board with House of a Thousand Corpses and Rob Zombie as a filmmaker, and then he went into a direction that I couldn't support. I could not get on board with those films. Uncle Ed, The Ring is a creepy movie, and I love it.
So let's go back a little bit. Brutal Impact Saw series. I think the Saw series, in general, I really really like, and it's not even for. It's weird. It's almost more for like the soap opera aspect of it, where it's just like there's so many characters and there's flashbacks, and it's like people like stabbing each other in the back, not literally, but sometimes. That it was kind of more interesting that way. Like Spiral and Jigsaw were like meh for me. The newest one, I felt was good, but it felt a little, I don't know, underwhelming.
I have not seen anything beyond the first Saw film because, other than the twist, I did not enjoy the film at all. I thought it was boring, the acting was terrible, and I did not even enjoy the special effects. So I never picked up the franchise. The Final Destination franchise, however, I was on board for every single one, especially after they blew up Clear Rivers.
I think Final Destination, they're all kind of just switch your brain off
Yes,
and just have fun with the concept.
exactly.
And it's just like the whole, oh, how are they going? And I think that's how they were all made. What sort of weird way can we figure out for them to die while trying to distract the audience by thinking you're going to die a different way? So yeah, I mean they're all fun. I think part two's head and shoulders the best of that series.
I mean, that's fair, I suppose.
Well, it's correct.
What about how do you feel about zombie movies, Mark?
Love zombie movies.
Do you?
Hmm?
I prefer like zombies that behave like they do in
So,
28
so,
Days
so
Later.
are you referencing the chat?
Yes.
Does he mean zombie as in zombies or Rob Zombie?
Oh, you know what? He did say zombie movies. Yeah, I'm sorry. Uncle Ed, I apologize. I think I misinterpreted that. Wrong Turn, I've seen the first two and I've not seen any more.
Wrong
But
Turn.
I
Wrong
did
Turn.
enjoy both those movies.
Was it Wrong Turn 4 is like a real sleazy fucking movie. It's kind of funny. And then they did that Wrong Turn like kind of reboot, which was very odd because it was like this weird cult. But yeah, things are cyclical, and they had the Hills of Eyes and Wrong Turn and
Yep.
kind of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake and stuff all come out around the same time.
Yep.
All these kind of hillbilly or
Do you know
weird.
my favorite hillbilly horror from the 80s?
No.
Motel Hell. I love Vincent Farmer.
I mean, well, I guess that is kind of
Farmer
hillbilly.
Vincent. It kind of is. I mean, it may not be
That
exactly.
to me is more like I don't know if there's like a clear way to say like country versus hillbilly. It's all probably the same, but like in my head, yeah. I mean, in my head, like hillbilly is more like the Wrong Turn sort of inbred, like
I mean,
delivering.
that's fair.
Like,
That's fair. That's fair.
But I think it's kind of a
But
soft
I will tell you that
difference.
the garden scene in that film still haunts my nightmares. The noise that those people were making when they were buried in the ground, I still hear that when I have a nightmare. It's terrifying.
Okay, well, it works for you. I mean, to me, it was kind of one of those '80s VHS type,
Yeah, of course.
movies, which was kind of fun.
And you have that lady for the
it never left like a lasting impact on me.
and you have that actress from Porky's, which she was just hysterical in. I can't remember her name to save my life right now, but I think she's fantastic. She's a great character actress. Brutal Impact said he would go with Deliverance.
Deliverance is great. Deliverance
It is a great movie.
Southern Comfort is another one of that time that's
Haven't seen
very
it.
similar.
Have you seen Seder, Mark?
Oh,
I know we've talked about it before.
I'm going to go and think about it. So why don't you talk to our audience while we go think about
So
it?
if you guys enjoy like Appalachian horror, there's a movie called Seder, which is about a man who is in a mental hospital because he believes he's being pursued by a demon, and he gets better and he gets out. And that's all I'm going to say. But you do have to sort of bear with the first 45 minutes of the film because there's very little talking. Yes, the garden noises still terrify me. That's absolutely true, Uncle Ed. And I saw that movie when I was a kid in the 80s, and it still bothers me. But I still have nothing but love because not much bothers me. So, Peachy, what are some movies, or anybody in the chat, what are some movies that really terrified you? I will say this, though. As I've gotten older, monsters don't bother me so much anymore. No, Brutal Impact, Sator. I don't get scared by monster movies or supernatural movies anymore because people are far more terrifying than anything that could come out of your imagination, in my opinion. So, like movies like The Hunt petrify me. You're Next was fantastic because people are fucked up. And I don't know where Mark is. He just took off. I guess he'll be back at some point. Yes, that's it. I want to say 2018, if I'm not mistaken, Brutal Impact, but don't quote me on that. Actually, you know what? Hang on a second. I will get you the year. I lied. It's 2021. Well, depending on where you go.
Yes, and that's the thing, right? If it's grounded in reality, it might possibly happen, and to me, that's much more terrifying than anything supernatural or monster made. Although, oh yes, Zelda. Mm-hmm. Yep. That she traumatized a lot of people. Brutal Impact. You know what else scared the crap out of me when I was a kid? Damn it. Where's I going with this? I got totally sidetracked thinking about Zelda. This is not good. Not good at all. Damn it. There was another movie I was going to talk about that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid that now is probably a bit ridiculous. But I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'm sure I'll get back to it at some point.
I'm sure you will.
Oh, shut up, Mark. Nobody asked you.
Hey, before I forget, so as I was telling you, I'm kind of getting into buying like screen used
Yes.
movie props.
Yes.
And so you go on eBay and stuff, and I understand that some people mightn't have a big budget, but still want to have like a piece of something, right? So
Yeah, of course.
people will sell like a piece of the original Evil Dead cabin, right? And it's this little piece of wood,
right,
in a case, which I think is a little weird. But okay, I'm not going to like say, yeah, okay, whatever you want to do, cool. But I do draw the line. I saw somebody selling screen used movie props from Jaws.
Okay.
Do you know what it was?
No, what?
It was sand from the beaches that it was shot at and water from the beaches that it was shot at.
How do you verify that?
I don't know how you verify like swatches and stuff. And
yeah, I mean, like, how would you verify wood from the cabin in Evil Dead?
I mean, I guess people go out there. I don't know. I don't. But
no, I'm just saying, how would you verify that? Like, I could pull it off of anything and say it's wood from the cabin from the Evil Dead. How would you verify that?
I don't know that process, but I still are like swatches of pieces of like a cloth or from a whatever from a costume. But sand from a beach, you're selling that as a screen use prop? I mean, get the fuck out of here. Sorry. That's just
suckers. There's a sucker born every minute, as P.T. Barnum used to say.
And people are buying them. So, because they're selling them for like $10-$20 and people are, okay. And, it's a little thing, whatever.
Not to change the subject, but I'm going to change the subject. What's a scene from a film that really scared the crap out of you when you were a kid?
So, again, we're going to go down to like the pillars of the movies, which kind of led me to be a horror nerd, right? So, the initial attack in Jaws. I distinctly remember watching American Werewolf in London, and my house was very close to like a park with like a forest, basically. And the point whenever they're walking through the moors and that first attack really like scarred me for a long time, because I literally could walk to that area in like 2 minutes.
Fair enough.
And also in Poltergeist, I'm trying to think of like this, like a specific. I think it was probably like the gross steak. Moving along, like there's just some of those scenes that are just as you're growing up, just like, ooh. Nobody can hear you, Jim.
I can't say that I remember a scene from the original Poltergeist that scared the shit out of me. Like, I was in awe of that film in general because it's so fantastically made. But the scene in the second movie where he throws up the worm from the tequila bottle scared the crap out of me.
Yep.
And I think it was the wink. I think the wink is what sealed the deal for me. When that worm cane creature thing crawled across and winked at them, I was done.
Yeah. I'm sure there's probably more, but that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I was going to say something, and then somebody brought up Zelda from Pet Sematary, and it totally went out of my brain. So like even the opening from Prom Night, right? That was where they're playing in the abandoned house and the girl falls to her death. That's terrifying because that could happen. And that's what we were talking about
Yeah.
in the chat was it- things that could potentially really happen are much more terrifying than supernatural.
And that's why I brought up open water, or I didn't bring it up, but it was brought up in the chat. Open water and fall, right? Because I don't like being out in the open water and I don't like heights. So both of those movies are very effective for me.
I'm going to make a very controversial statement. The movie 48 Meters Down with Mandy Moore has one of the best endings ever.
Is it Mandy? Was it Mandy Moore in that?
Yes, it was.
I kind of like that ending.
Oh, yeah. Peachy just said he who walks behind the rose got her as a kid. That's true. I can get behind that, but it wasn't so much he who walks behind the rose. It was when Isaac came back after being put up as an offering. That scared the shit out of me.
There's a movie called Death Valley, which came out in the 80s, and I think it was on TV, and I think that it was a scene in that movie which really scared me. It was like people being murdered and like out in the desert. I've never watched it since, but I kind of don't want to. I kind of want to like hold on to that. Maybe it was this movie, and maybe it was that scene, and I didn't just invent it. Nobody can hear you, Jim.
I said that's fair. I keep pressing pause because there's a sink getting replaced in the other room. But like I still get shit because I watch movies like this stuff all the time.
Stuff's
But
great.
it is. But thinking about how cheesy it was, it reminds me of like Invaders from Mars with Karen Black. When Louise Fletcher eats the frog, that scared the shit out of me. Like I know it's not a serious film. It's sort of it's meant to be schlocky, but
Yeah.
that was terrifying.
Well, but you talk about like the original V series. Whenever Diana eats like the hamster or whatever, like there's certain things just get stuck in your head. It might be scary or or whatever, but
Yeah, exactly.
you just remember them.
I was terrified. I was fine with clear, definite monsters, but amorphous evil got under my skin. That's fair because some people, Peachy, that is 100% understandable because some people have a fear of the intangible, right? Because then how do you fight back?
So there's some. I need some clarification on that. It's not like sort of like The Exorcist or how things
No,
can overtake you or.
yeah, I mean that's a good question. I would not think that way because once it has a body, there's an embodiment, right? So like a haunting, not a possession. Does that make sense? So like in Amityville, where nobody really gets possessed, but they're terrorized by an unseen force.
Another one from my childhood was the original The Haunting. Whenever
yeah.
whenever the ghost or whatever was banging on the door and the
Yeah.
door started to like move in.
Do you know the scene? Was it that movie, or was it 10 Little Indians, where they're sitting around talking about being victims of paranormal happenings at some point, and one of the people is talking about it raining rocks on her house?
Right, that's Red Rose.
No.
Well, that
It's an old.
happens in
It did. It does.
Rose
It does.
Red,
You're
not
right.
Red Rose.
Yeah.
Rose
But you're
Red.
right. It does. It does. But it's an older black and white film, and I don't remember if it was The Haunting or a movie called 10 Little Indians, where they're all sitting around a table and in a house that they're trying to wake up, and they're relating their paranormal experiences, and one of the girls talks about how it rained rocks on her house for 10 days.
It sounds like a Stephen King something.
It is not. It's
or I was going to say The Legend of Hell House, but I don't think there's. I love that movie. And I don't think there's a scene where that happens.
No, this is a black and white film. Let's see. You keep talking, Mark. I'm going to look this up.
Okay, I'll keep talking because everybody likes to hear me. So, Wendy, you said yes as far as like possession, or maybe something like Prince of Darkness. Although it's there, it kind of infects people.
Yeah, it is. That scene was taken directly from The Haunting of Hill House. Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House for
So the
Stephen King's
haunting.
Rose Red. Yes. So I was right. Thank you. I'm so I'm never right when I talk to you and I argue with you about things, Mark. So this makes me happy.
Well, a broken clock strikes twice a day.
Exactly. And this is my once. Well, Mark, this has been a lot of fun, but it's almost time for me to turn into a pumpkin because
What?
I have to work in the morning.
You fucking. Okay,
I know.
let me just discuss a couple of other things I watched because I know
Okay.
you watched one of them. I'm pretty sure because this was another instance where you were wrong. Uh, so I swear that I'd seen this. I recently watched The Sect. Do you remember The Sect?
I don't.
Because you called it a Dario Argento film.
I don't remember ever talking about that film.
Yes, it's a Michelle Suave movie. SECT. I'm pretty sure that you brought it up and you said it was an Argento film, and then I have to correct you because he's one of the writers.
I would. So, given my
Lack of knowledge.
disdain for Argento, I've never seen this film, so I never would have spoken about this. I think you're mistaken.
No, I'm gonna. Okay, well, I'll find it and then I'll send it to you because I'm pretty sure you texted me about it or it was on Facebook or something.
Yeah, if you find it, please, because I don't remember having ever seen that
So
film.
The Sect is really, really. It's a very strange movie with Herbert Lom in it.
Okay.
Who is I always loved from the original Pink Panther movies.
Yes.
And I almost think that they probably had like Donald Pleasance in mind for his character. But I think Pleasance probably didn't die at that point. But it's super bizarre. And I was watching it. And I'm like, the lead actress in it. I'm like, her voice sounds really, really familiar. I'm like, but who is she? She seems so familiar. I must have seen her, and this is as I was watching it. I'm like, okay, I have to look her up, and her name is Kelly Curtis.
Okay.
Do you know who she is?
Mm-mm.
There's a clue in her last name.
Jamie Lee Curtis's sister?
Correct.
Okay.
So it's really weird. So like after I could only see like Jamie Lee Curtis in that role. It's such a bizarre movie that it's almost hypnotizing, and there's not really a lot of horror in it until like the last third, but it's like captivating. It's like oh my. Herbert Lom is this guy who has this box on a bus, and like he's coughing, and people think he's going to like die, so they're trying to like help him, and he's like, "Get off my box!" And he gets off the bus, and he's nearly hit by Kelly Curtis. So she brings him back to her house for some reason, and there's just like weirdness like goes on from there. But it's actually I don't know how I liked it so much because it's so weird, but maybe that's why I liked it so much. Anyway,
Possibly.
the Sect again, Michelle Suave, really good. I did watch Smile 2.
And verdict?
I liked it much more than the first.
Does it go further than the first?
It goes in a different direction. So I don't know who the lead actress is in it, but she's amazing in it. It's
Okay.
really like a Britney Spears type Miley Cyrus or Smiley Virus type pop star, but it's almost more like a descent into madness because something happened to her like a year ago and she was on drugs and this terrible thing happened. Um, and then the whole smile thing happens, right? Um, but it's almost you could take that smile curse thing out of it, and it would have been just as interesting because it's just her kind of descent into I've got so much responsibility. You know, her mom is her manager, and it's kind of like Black Swan in that way. And it's just really like she's losing it. And I think that was really interesting. I don't think it stuck the landing, but it's the same director, but it was way better shot. As far as you know, they have very opulent houses or apartments, but they're very cold, which I think leans into this sort of you're super wealthy, but there's so many people around you that are kind of leeching off you, and it's a very cold environment. But yeah, Smile 2, uh, although the ending didn't stick it, was pretty good. I also watched Hellraiser Remastered in the movie theater.
I saw your post about that. Is
Mhm.
it just as good as it was the first time?
So I've never the only Hellraiser movie for whatever reason I saw in the movie theaters was part 3, which I think is
I'm sorry for you.
it's almost the weakest of the first 4.
Yeah.
3 and 4 both have like some issues,
Right.
but it's definitely the glossiest. So remastered, it was I think it was probably a choice to leave like some grain in the film. It wasn't like a remastered version of the thing like you get on like 4K, where it's just like everything is super clear. But I think that makes sense for Hellraiser because it really is more of a gritty film, just being in basically a couple of locations, mainly in the house. There were some, I'm pretty sure, extended scenes that I hadn't seen before. And I never really noticed because I only ever watched it on the TV. There's a lot of close-ups in this movie, which on the big screen you really see. But obviously, it's a classic. Love it. There was a Doug Bradley interview after it, but I didn't stick around because I knew it was like from like 20 years ago or whatever. Like, if you're releasing it in the movies as a special event, why don't you like re-interview him or something? But it was great to see in the big screen. Obviously, the soundtrack rocks, and everything else, and that's about it. James. You're on mute. You unmuted yourself for the noise in the background.
I did, right? Right. I pretty much talked about everything I've seen, Mark, during this podcast, so I don't have anything additional to add. But I do want to say thank you to everybody that's hung out and interacted with us. It's been a lot of fun. You can find us here almost every Sunday at 7.
Yeah, go into our Facebook group if you want us to talk about like a specific genre or anything,
Yep.
or
Or
just
if you have any
have like an open questions or
Yep. Absolutely. It's all under horror movies and shit. And you can find the podcast everywhere, including on YouTube. And then we're on Facebook.